So I got onto his crew, and that was in virtually 1960, the 59-60 season.
Right.
As I said, I started at the end of November, so December.
What track though?
Showground Royal.
Sydney
Showgrounds.
Okay, is it still there, that thing?
Hey?
Is actual Sydney Showgrounds
It does
still there?
It's still there. Yeah, they have the Royal Easter Show, but it doesn't run as a speedway.
No, the Royal Easter Show's been moved to Homebush.
Has it?
Yeah.
Oh well,
it is there. It is there because I worked there, and then
at
both
Moore
years.
Park.
Yeah,
just near Moore Park.
it is there, mate.
Is it?
And now it's the Fox Studios.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
But I actually remember now. There's even a bit of video of it. I know it well. Okay, so
Yeah.
okay.
So anyway, I started on crew there, and then when I turned 16, I used to watch the stock car, the rollover stock cars, and like them as well as the midgets. So I bought a stock car already going for £10, and it was a 1936 Dodge Coupe, and I trashed that. You had to have a driver's licence them days, and if you were under 18, you had to have permission from your parents. Well, my parents didn't want to know about motor racing at all, so not only we forged the driver's licence, we had to forge the letter from the parents as well, so that I could start racing.
Right.
But we managed to do all that.
Yeah.
So I was only 16 when I first started racing at the Showground Royal, and then we went to Windsor. We used to race up at the Windsor RSL in the winter time on the Sunday afternoon.
Right. What a flat track sort of.
Yeah, it was a half-mile track with a third mile inside it.
Wow.
Well, actually a quarter mile. So your turns 1 and 2 were part of the quarter mile track as well.
Okay.
And then 3 and 4 were
Open
down
out.
the open end, or you had 3 and 4 short track on the quarter mile.
Right.
And they used to run L sections there. They run midgets, and we call them TQs. I think they're about the formulas these days.
Okay.
Formula 500, something like that.
Right.
But they were called TQs, 3/4 midgets.
Right. In the stock, or what do you call it?
Stock
car?
cars. Yeah.
What was the car to own? What was the best motor, or the, you know what I'm saying? You had a Dodge 36 Dodge. Was that a good thing?
It was
to own
no,
at the time?
it wasn't a better thing, but it wasn't the fact it was the motor. It was the chassis wouldn't hold up. I wrote 2 of them off in a matter of 2 years. 2 1936 Dodge Coupes. Sacrilege to the hot rodders today.
Yeah,
But,
isn't it?
So we built. There was a fellow, Ralph Ellis. His daughter is the Liz Ellis.
Liz Ellis.
That's his daughter.
She's a
basketball,
running
netball.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Netball, basketball, or something, or
Yeah.
netball. I think
Okay.
Australian netball.
Yep.
Yeah, very good at it. Anyway,
Oh, the coach. Yeah, now she was the captain.
yeah,
She was on radio. I remember. I was thinking of someone
Yeah,
else.
she's been on some
Dark
TV
hair,
and
very
stuff.
tall. Yeah.
Yeah, well, her father, Ralph Ellis, and he was the first one to build a straight, proper stock car chassis out of Channel Line.
Right.
And the idea was to build a car that could roll over and keep going.
Right.
And we used to get paid for rolling each other over and get paid
Putting
if
on a
we got
show.
rolled over. And if you could roll over and keep going, you got a bonus and all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And you didn't get paid very much to win a race. The idea was to take
Put on a
out as
show.
many of your mates as you could.
Can you explain to me then that let's say it's 59 or 60? The crowds, you know.
Around about in the mid-60s, 64,
Yeah.
65, I can remember one night they had to open up the top deck of the double stand at the Sydney Showground. Roughly about 30,000 people there.
Yeah, crazy.
I know I got slammed into the wall and the car caught fire. So I dived out through the front of the car and burnt my hands because we had no gear them days.
Right.
I've got photos. I'm just in a white T-shirt and a pair of blue jeans.
Wow.
and I've dived out of the car and burnt my hands as I went out. And I knew where the fire was because I didn't have any firewall in the car, so I could see where it was. And it was a broken fuel line feeding onto the distributor.
Oh, nice.
So I grabbed the fire extinguisher off the guy, put the fire out, and then I reached in under and I was able to bend the fuel line over because I had twin carbies on it.
Yeah.
So I bent that fuel line over and crimped it off, jumped back in and got me mate to push start me.
Right.
Yeah.
Just back into it for the next
and the
heat.
black smoke coming out everywhere, and I can still hear the crowd cheering over the above the cars.
You picked up another couple of bucks over the side here for putting on a show. That's why I asked, because it was such a thing to go and see.
Oh, the crowds were enormous, mate. It was nothing to be out there to get 10,000, 15,000 people just on an ordinary night.
You know what really interests me? And I have it in me, when I used to race sprint cars, because Dad, my old man Reeve, when he would win a trophy, I remember being really young.
Yeah, because he raced the sedan cars or something, sports cars.
He started in Bombers at Archerfield in about...
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
1978, he first went to that track. And around about 1970... No, it would have been 78. He had his first Chrysler Royal. But when he'd win a race or any trophy, he turned into the old school speedway guy who'd... he'd put on a bit of a show for the crowd with his voice, like he'd talk it up, and no one. What does he always say? It's just ridiculous. It's easy to see why they call me the prettiest and the best. You know what I mean? And it was just odd. It was so odd for me to see, why is he doing this?
We used to jump out and show a bit of aggression and all that sort of thing, and the crowd would go ape.
But it was all still a show, but you had your winners putting on a bit of some sort of...
I rolled over one night in front of the bullpens, they call it, at the showground, and the seatbelts broke as I rolled over. And because we used to only have old webbing, we used to buy the old parachute harnesses at the disposal store,
right,
and then take them down the bootmaker and get him to stitch them up to suit us. And anyway, this night the seatbelts broke. And I was bouncing around inside the car, did about 3 rollovers, and I can remember grabbing one of the pipes, and then the car landed on it, and I couldn't feel my hand anymore, and I thought I'd lost my hand.
Wow.
Anyway, the car stopped, and I crawled out because the body had broken away from the roll cage, and I crawled out between the body and the roll cage. And as I crawled out, and fortunately, one of my mates was on the infield, and I was a bit knocked senseless, and he grabbed me and whizzed me off the track because the field was still coming around again.
Yeah.
And he got me onto the infield, but as he's taking me onto the infield, I can hear all the crowd screaming out and yelling and everything. And what they were screaming out as, look at his back, look at his back. And what happened, I'd ripped my overalls open, and I've still got the scar down my back, and it was bleeding. And because you got white overalls on, and the red blood was showing up on the white overalls, and the crowd screaming, hey.
Thousands of them too, and they could see it all happening, can't you see?
The next thing, the ambulances raced over. Fortunately, it wasn't a real deep cut. But it was one of those cuts that bleeds a lot. It was about 100 millimetres long.
That would have been a bit tender the next couple of days.
Apparently, we worked it out. I'd landed on the piece of channel line that protected the electric fuel pump on the floor.
Right.
And that had opened my back up.
Right. Yeah. So you even had the electric fuel pump in the back then?
You have it alongside me.
Okay.
And we just used to have an ordinary 20-litre drum.
Right.
That was our fuel tank.
Inside
alongside you. And then you had a piece of plastic tube coming up through the cap and onto the electric fuel pump and then into the motor.
But even still, at the time, that was kind of safe. Or, we
didn't worry about safe.
Wow. Wild.
Safe wasn't in the equation.
Wild.
But, and some of the guys...
was there anyone at the time going, hey, come on, this is a bit unsafe. Why don't we put that jerry can in the boot or something?
No, that didn't come. That didn't come till the 70s. I was up here, but I remember the
Speedway
Control Council at the time that was running the super modifieds. they then finally brought in a rule that all fuel tanks had to have a screw cap on them. They could no longer have
like a cap with a hole and you...
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. So if you turned upside down, which you often did,
the fuel
everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
That's great. That's great.
There were some funny times, and I felt like hammering one kid one night. I rolled over pretty bad, and we used to have the motors just sitting in cradles with big wire cables holding them in, because when you rolled over, the engine mounts wouldn't last.
Right.
So you just sat them in a steel cradle, and then wire cables to wire them in.
Right.
Anyway, this night one of the cables broke, and the motor's hanging half out. So it's a 6-cylinder Dodge motor hanging out halfway out of the car. And when the racing's over, they let all the crowd onto the infield, right? And these couple of young kids, teenagers, walking through. The next the kids pulled his mate over and said, "Oh, look at this!" And then he's yelled out, "Hey, Dad, come and have a look at this. This one's got a slant Valiant motor in it." I won't tell you what I said. I wasn't happy.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And then, so after a while, there's a million questions I could ask you about that era.
Oh, mate. Yeah.
We have to wrap this up soon because it's already been an hour.
Oh, right.
But I could ask you 100 million questions about this era.
The showground was the real heyday of Speedway, you know.
And entertainment.
Because as you know, it was 1969. I got that bad accident at Archerfield that put me in PA hospital for nearly 4 months. Up until then, I was
that one with your leg?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a piece of pipe just broke loose and went straight through and smashed the femur into 13 pieces. So I shouldn't be here. But
in 1969.
1969.
Did they have a medic on? You know. Now we've always got an ambulance
The
infield.
ambulance was there.
There was an ambulance. Wow.
Even then, they used to have an ambulance on site.
All right, here's one. Can you tell me what? I imagine it now. The ambulance would sedate you straight away if you had. They'd stop you screaming.
The guy was. I wasn't screaming.
No.
The pain was like you wouldn't believe, but there was no point in screaming because it wasn't going to help the pain.
Yeah.
They got me out of the car. It was a hell of a job getting me out of the car because I had to come out through the roof. And then they put me on the stretcher, and the ambulance guy is trying to plug up the hole in my leg because the pipe was like a big wad punch and took all the meat out as well.
I've seen the scar. Explain it's about like a 2-inch or it's even bigger.
Oh, no, it's a lot bigger than that. It's, it's about 100 millimetre across, like in circumference.
That's right. Yeah.
Like in diameter, it's about 100 millimetre and like a big circle. Yeah. And you can actually, the bone's right on the surface of the skin. Oh. But anyway, at that time, my wife was racing too. And we'd had no intention of having children. We were just going to race Speedway, and we'd made arrangements to go to Darwin and race. Anyway, the accident changed everything. And, of course, now I've got my daughter, Kathy, and I've got 2 other beautiful daughters. Yep. And I wouldn't change it for the world, even though I have to grin and bear it, and I limp a bit and I walk funny and talk funny. Yep. That's the way it is. And I've got the that's my phone. Oh, it'll ring out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you.
Yeah. So that was a big life changing thing. Right. Yeah.
Huh? When you were racing in '69 at Archerfield Speedway, where were you? Was that because you normally raced at Surfers Paradise Speedway and then you came up to do that race, or did you?
I was racing the super modified. And I wasn't interested. I'd stopped racing the stock cars, but I still had the stock car at home. And that was a problem. And they rang me up at Archerfield, we need you to come up and race the stock car, because I was still known as a New South Wales driver. Right. Even living in Tweed Heads, you know. Yep. And so they wanted some sort of state race or something. So I said, no, I'm not interested. I'm going over to Darwin in a couple of months' time, so I'm not interested in going. And he said, I'll give you $100 to come up. Well, that was a lot of money. A week's wages was $70 or $75 or something. Yeah. So, I'm up there. Yeah. Oh, I didn't come home from it.
Right, okay.
Yeah, straight to PA hospital, don't pass go, and don't collect